Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica and today we are going to be doing a 2024 project recap. I love seeing people's project recaps for the year, and I know it's a little bit later in 2025, but this is just the first time I had a chance to do it, and I didn't want to miss out on the chance to look back and see all of the things that I completed in 2024. I love seeing what other people have accomplished throughout the years, and so I wanted to make a video for you guys as well, and hopefully it gives you some inspiration if you missed out on some of the projects that we went through last year, or you're just looking for something new and fun to do. So I'm going to go through them rather quickly. I'm going to say the name of what they are, show the pictures. We're not going to go into a whole lot of detail because for the most part, for every project that I will be mentioning, I have a full YouTube video or tutorial about it here on YouTube. So if you're interested in anything that I'm talking about today, you can just search my channel for the name of the project and you should be able to find that video fairly easily. And before we get started, I just thought I would tell you really quickly, the quilt behind me on this ladder is my brand new released So Quilty quilt pattern. This pattern features all of the same motifs that were in our So Jolly cross stitch and quilty ornaments from 2023, all in a really cute quilt format, and that one just went live, so there is a whole video on that as well. And then back here is just some of my fabric from some of the lines that I've done. All right, so we're just gonna dive right in, and I'm gonna start off with my YouTube stats. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to these throughout the year, but at the end of the year, I write down all my stats and I just take a quick glance back at last year's stats just to make sure that I'm moving in the right track. I really need to get better about paying more attention to those probably mid-year. So I released 90 videos last year, which is quite a bit. That's definitely more than one a week. Part of that's Vlogmas because we did release daily videos in December. And then in November, I actually was releasing 2 videos a week to try and get out all of the content that I had planned for December so that you guys could still get all the ornament content, but then we would still be able to have time to do Vlogmas. So 90 videos is pretty good. That's more than what my goal is. That's 7.5 per month. I also went from 420,000 subscribers to 485, or a little bit more than that now. So that's a 65,000 increase, which is pretty good. And we're right on the edge of 500,000. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I would love to hit 500,000. So that would be really cool if you would subscribe to my channel. It doesn't take anything away from you, but it allows me to know that you guys are enjoying my videos. You can also hit the notification bell if you haven't already so that you get notified whenever I upload content. This will be a kind of a chatty video, so make sure that you have something either cold or warm to drink, sit back, and maybe grab some knitting or crochet, and let's take a look at all the projects that we completed in 2024. My top goal for 2024 was to release my first fabric line. It had been in the works actually for a couple of years prior. So in 2023, I was like, okay, my goal for 2024 is to get out that first fabric line. And the first one took me kind of a while. It was already designed, but just all the logistics and things like that just took a minute, not to mention the ordering and the testing and all that stuff. But once we got all of the kinks worked out, I think we're on a pretty good roll now. I released 3 fabric lines last year. So at the end of June 2024, I released my very first fabric line called Bloom. That was in all of my favorite signature colors, and it was all florally and fun and pretty. I released a couple different quilt patterns to go with that. I will talk about those in the quilting section, but that fabric line was a lot of fun, and I was trying to sort of mimic what the big designers do, and so I did release 42 prints in that line, which was a lot of prints. You guys loved it. It sold out almost immediately, and I had a lot of fun sewing with that and creating patterns to go with it. So thank you so much for your support for Bloom. Then in August of 2024, I released the Harvest Collection. It was a fall quilt, and again, I'll show all the quilts for my lines later on, but that one was really fun, and I always like to do oranges and aquas and tans for my fall quilts, and it's a little bit difficult to find fabric lines that do that. So obviously when I'm creating my own, I can put in whatever colors I wanted, and so that's what I did for Harvest. I did lots of oranges, some tans, lots of fun blues and greens, and that line is still one of my favorites, and I will be doing another fall line this year as well. And then in November, I released my Believe fabric line. That was for the Christmas Spools quilt. That fabric line was so happy and cheery, and again, I threw some aqua into that line. It's one of my favorite colors, and I love being able to blend it into my own fabric lines. That line was so cute. All of the prints in it were adorable, and the Christmas Spools Fool's quilt. If you haven't seen that, I'll show it in a minute here. But that quilt is so much fun, and to this day, that is probably one of my all-time favorite holiday lines. Okay, so 3 lines of fabric in 2024, and then my goal for 2025 is to release 4 lines of fabric, and I think we'll be slated to do that. Now that we have a few lines under our belt, I have a lot more awareness about what it takes to get a line out, how much it costs, how much time is involved, and all of that. And so hopefully we'll be doing 4 lines this year. Now, the first line already released. That is my So Quilty fabric line for the So Quilty quilt, which is right behind me here on my ladder. And that released just a little bit ago, so I'm sure you've already all seen that. That line is so fun, and I've actually had that line saved in my computer for over a year now because this quilt was actually designed kind of a while ago. I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing before I ordered that line. So that one is really fun, and it's already out for this year. So that's the fabric that was released last year. I'm excited for you guys to see what's coming up this year. Let's move on to craft podcasts. So craft podcasts are something that I love watching, and so I like to do those. Gives you guys a sneak peek, see what I'm working on, maybe get some inspiration. I always am setting a goal of myself to release 6 podcasts per year, which is every other month. And realistically, I'd like to do 12. But when it comes down to it, I have so many other videos and tutorials going on that I don't always have time. And unfortunately, I dropped the ball in 2024 and I only released 3 podcast episodes. I'm going to try again to do 6 this year. And if I can do more, great. We'll have to see how the year progresses. But I am going to set a goal for myself for 6. 3, in my opinion, is definitely not enough. I like to see what people are doing, what they're up to, and get inspiration as well. So hopefully you guys are liking those. Leave a comment below letting me know if you like the craft podcast as well. Thumbs up for making more of them, and I will do my best to put that on a higher priority. All right, let's talk about the quilts that I completed. I completed 18 different quilts, and I am counting the pillows of the month as 12 quilts because those are individual quilt patterns. So we're going to start there. Every year I have done a monthly quilt and cross stitch along. So we've done trucks of the month, houses of the month. Last year we did pillows of the month. This year we are doing table toppers of the month. So for last year's pillows of the month, we did 12 different patterns, one for each month, January through December. Those finished at 20 by 20. You can make them as little wall hangings if you don't like pillows, but those were a lot of fun. And we did both the quilting and the cross stitch version. But those quilt pillows were so much fun. I really enjoyed doing them. And it's kind of nice to have a little project that you can do each month. You can really get them done in like a day or 2 depending on how much time you have, and then you have a cute little seasonal pillow or wall hanging for your home. And you know you have a whole month to finish it, so there's no rush before the next pattern releases. In February, I released my Hearts, actually I think I did it in January, but my Hearts in Bloom quilt. This quilt is actually part of a series that I'm doing with similar layouts. So it started with Franny's Tree Farm a couple years ago. I'm repeating a similar layout because I love that one so much, and we're going to make them seasonal. So Franny's Tree Farm is obviously from the holidays. So this last year I released Hearts in Bloom, which is for Valentine's Day. It features cute little patchwork or more like jelly roll strip pieced houses and hearts blooming out of the ground as flowers. And so that one is really cute, lots of fun. And then it has an outer border, and you'll see they all sort of are going to be having that similar outer border where there's a thinner border that extends up into the top and bottom borders. And then in all 4 corners of this one, you have hearts. The Holly's Tree Farm had pinwheels in their corners. So you can look forward to the fall version of that. That will be coming this year. I'm hoping to release that sometime in July or August. I'm not going to give you any sneak peeks for that, but that will be coming soon. And then I will be releasing one of those every year. By the time we're all done, we will have 5. We'll have one for the Valentine's Day. We'll have the patriotic one. We'll have the fall one. And then of course we have the Christmas one. And I might do a spring line in there. We'll see. Spring or summer. So obviously I love the layouts of those. I hope you do too. And you can look forward to more of those coming soon. The next quilt I released was my Bloom quilt, and that went with that Bloom fabric line. It had flowers sitting in little pots. Super cute quilt. I loved making that one scrappy. All the little petals for the flowers are scrappy, and it's just a really fun quilt. I would say this one's a little more intermediate or advanced beginner just because they are a lot of pieces in there. You're snowballing a lot of corners, but I also like to encourage people to challenge themselves, and if they see a quilt that they love, but it looks a little bit more difficult, I would say go for it. You can can always email me if you have any questions. And if you've ever seen any of my patterns, hopefully you know that they're really well written as far as written instructions, graphic illustrations for each step of the way. And I do my best to help make them really beginner friendly, even if they're a more complicated quilt. So this quilt was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's not complicated. It just does have a lot of pieces. So I like to bump that up a little bit to more like the advanced beginner or possibly intermediate level, just due to the number of pieces. But this one was a lot of fun and features that bloom line. To go along with my bloom fabric, I also released an easy, super easy, beginner-friendly quilt. This quilt is called Shine. It's a simple sawtooth quilt pattern, and it's just really fun. And I love how the stars all sort of go together, and they also create a little secondary pattern in there with the corners of the blocks coming together. So this one was a lot of fun, super fast and easy put together. It's perfect for fat quarters. And the cool thing about the Shine quilt is you can make it in any color way that you like. Red, white, and blue, multicolored like I did. You could do a Christmas version, a fall version. Stars, in my opinion, for quilting are just totally universal, and you can do any kind of colors that you like with that quilt, and it'll be absolutely beautiful. The other quilt that I released is called American Pie. I used the red, white, light blue, and aqua scraps from my Bloom collection for this. I love patriotic quilts. They are one of my favorite ones to make. I probably have not quite as many patriotic quilts as I have Christmas quilts. I have a lot of Christmas quilts, but I do have a lot of patriotic quilts as well. I love it. I put them all over my house, starting in Memorial Day and just all the way through, usually to the end of July is when they are all hanging out around my house. I've got them on the couch, on quilt ladders, and they're just a lot of fun. This one is just a traditional granny square quilt. The center is actually the background fabric, so it makes it look just slightly different. Granny squares are really fun to make, and you can adjust the colors to change the whole look of the block. I went with the background in the center, and I just think it makes it lots of fun. And then I did my signature star sashing. I did this on a quilt years ago. Lots of people asked for that tutorial, so I put it on my blog. I will try and remember to link it below here as well, but you can do this sashing on any quilt pattern that you have. I did it in my Freedom quilt, which was released several years ago. And then I did it again on this American Pie quilt. And I think it's just really fun because you've got those granny squares and then the stars in between. So love that quilt. I also released my Happy Harvest quilt pattern. This one was released to go with my Harvest fabric line. And this one is so cute. It features patchwork pumpkins in a variety of different shapes and sizes. It also has a leaf sashing in between the rows of pumpkins, which is really, really cute. Some of the pumpkins feature stars, hearts, some are just patchworky, and then there's a couple little baby solid pumpkins in there. And then of course I did a fun border around the outside edge as well. I've talked to a lot of people. Some people love borders, some people hate borders. I like adding borders to all of my quilts, and my favorite way to do it is to add a border of just your background fabric to give some space between the design and the borders. Then I do a skinnier dark border just to frame it all out, and then I usually do a nice wide outer border in a lighter or low volume fabric to just sort of bring it all together. And then when you lay it on your bed or your couch, I feel like the designs are just really well framed. So I love adding borders, but of course you can take any quilt pattern, take the borders off, and just keep that center if you prefer. The other thing that this quilt pattern would be perfect for is creating a row of pumpkins for a table runner, or you could just take one of these pumpkins and make a pillow out of them. I think that would be really cute as well. But just one row of pumpkins as a table runner, I think would be perfect. And then the last quilt I released in 2024 was my Christmas Spools quilt. And along with that, I released my Believe fabric line. You've already seen the Believe fabric line, super cute. The Christmas Spools quilt was so much fun to make, and I love it so much. It just featured a bunch of different sewing spools, and then in each spool there was a different holiday themed motif inside. The spools are actually really quick to make. I made my cake stands first, and then I made all of the spool top and bottoms, and then I just went through and made all of the center blocks, and then it was really easy just to put everything together. So that quilt was a lot of fun, and to this day, whenever I see it hanging in my closet, I can see the colors, I know what it is, and it's just so cute. It's one of my favorite holiday quilts so far. So that's all of my quilt projects, 18 quilt projects. I don't usually set a goal for myself as far as quilt projects go. I like to try and release 6 big quilts a year, and then with the monthlies 12 is kind of a lot of patterns to go through for the year. I do want to give a shout out to my testers. I have a couple testers who help me out quite a bit. And so thank you so much, Brenda and Stephanie, for all that you are doing to help test these patterns to make them accurate for all of my viewers. So those guys work their butts off. So imagine all those patterns that I put out, they all had to be tested and gone through. My mom also goes through and helps me just look for typos and things like that. So those guys are doing a lot of work. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and say thanks so much for all of their help. All right, so for random sewing projects, I only did 5 sewing projects this year. I do want to try and increase that for 2025. I had a lot of requests for smaller sewing projects. I've been focusing a lot more on quilting because that's sort of where my passion lies, but I do have some fun little projects slated for 2025. So in the beginning of the year, I did the Sew Together bag tutorial for you. I had a lot of positive feedback from that one. That pattern is actually not my pattern. It's from Sew Demented. I did contact her and ask if I could do a video tutorial for it because she does not have one, and that bag is a little bit intimidating to put together, but once you see it, I think in video format, it makes it a lot more doable. And so I did ask if she would allow me to do a tutorial for it. She agreed, and I just think the more visual help you can get with that one, the better, because there are a lot of pieces on it. I made 3 of those bags, and I actually still want to make one more because I made one for all of my daughters for Christmas, but I would like to make another one for myself because they are so useful. But please know it's not my pattern, so if you have purchased that and you have any questions, make sure to contact her for that. I also did the Sherpa tote, which was really fun. It's a super easy tote bag. I use mine. I've actually made 3 of them now. I use mine for all of my knit and crochet projects because it's just a nice big tote you can grab, toss all your stuff in and go. And keep in mind, I actually used the Sherpa fleece. I got it from our Joann's that is local to me. Unfortunately, they're closing soon, so I'm really sad. But you can do that with any fabric you like. You could use a fleece, a flannel. You could do it with regular quilting cotton. If you do it with regular quilting cotton, I would just suggest that you put some sort of interfacing or a thicker quilt batting on the back just to give it a little structure. Otherwise, it's just a super simple, easy tote bag you can do. Again, that was the Sherpa tote. The next one I did was Erica's Craft Caddy, and this one was just out of need for myself, actually. I wanted a little caddy that I could take with me when I go to knitting or whatever, you know, sewing with friends. And so I just wanted a little caddy that I could put all my tools in, some of my project stuff on the inside, and so I just made this cute little craft caddy using duck canvas, which is basically like a waxed canvas, so it's just a little bit thicker. It holds its shape. It's a little stiffer, and so that was perfect for that. But you could also use regular fabric, and again, just do some interfacing for it if you don't want to use the duck canvas. The other thing that we did wasn't really sewing, but we did do fabric spool ornaments. It was just a quick little easy tutorial. I just ordered some wooden spools off of Amazon. They were already stained like a vintage color, and then I took some of my fun fabric and batting and just wrapped it around it, hot glued it, put a little string in it, and bam, I had some really cute little fabric spools for my Christmas tree. So that was a fun little quick and easy tutorial. And then lastly, we did the petal pin cushions. I've done a couple different pin cushion tutorials here on YouTube, and I wanted to do the petal one. I think I've made like 5 or 6 of them now. They're really fun and easy. They're a great way to use up scraps, and they're super cute for your sewing room. And that was just a couple of pieces of fabric, some batting, some pillow stuffing, and then some floss, and then I used a couple of buttons to make mine a little bit more decorative. So that was the 5 random sewing projects I did for 2024. Let's talk about cross stitch. So I have 24 different cross stitch patterns that were released, and that was kind of a lot for me, but you guys seem to be liking the cross between the quilting patterns and the cross stitch patterns. A lot of you are actually doing both, and then I have some people saying they're doing one or the other, so I love that, and I love seeing all of your work. And I haven't mentioned, but if you haven't already, make sure to join us on our Facebook Sew With Me group. It's a private group so we can keep all the spammers out, and that's just a fun place where everybody can post their progress and projects. I post my progress in there as well, and little special announcements for you guys, and so it's just nice to have a closed group where we aren't getting a bunch of spam and stuff. I will put a link below where you can get to our Facebook Sew With Me group, and you can share your progress there and see what everyone else is working on as well. It's a lot of fun. So let's take a look here. So my first cross stitch that I released for 2024 was my Hearts in Bloom cross stitch. It matched the Hearts in Bloom quilt pattern, and I've been trying to do a cross stitch to match all of my larger quilt patterns. It's a lot of fun. I'm not always doing it just because it sort of depends on the quilt pattern. If it's super repetitive, doing a cross stitch is kind of like, I don't know if people would like that or not. So leave me a comment below letting me know what you think about the cross stitch to match the larger quilt patterns and if I should keep that up or not. I've been enjoying them, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about them as well. So that was Hearts and Bloom cross stitch. I of course did our Pillows of the Month cross stitch. So those Pillows of the Month, January through December, I counted those as 12 patterns because they are individually released patterns. And I forgot to mention this with the quilts, but you can buy those patterns individually, or now that they're all released, we do have them available in print and PDF format in a whole bundle, and you do get a slight discount if you buy the bundle. But back to 2024, we did 12 cross stitch Pillows of the Month, one for each month, and they were really cute. I did do 2 for July. I tend to do 2 different patterns for July because I realize that not everybody lives in the United States. So I do like to release a secondary pattern that's not so focused on the United States for all of my friends who do not live in the US. So theoretically, that's actually 13 patterns. I only counted it as 12. And then I also did the Nutcracker stitchy ornaments this year, which were so much fun. I love each and every one of them. They're just darling. I did count those as 12 patterns because again, they're all 12 individual patterns, 12 patterns that have to be made and photographed and all of that, but they were really cute. I did put them on my new King of Christmas tree. I'm sure you saw a ton of that during Vlogmas and the release for all of my ornaments that we did this year. I did a lot of ornaments in 2024. I sort of went ornament crazy. And you'll see when we get to the crochet section, but I have a whole tree of just handmade ornaments, which is actually kind of fun. I put it in my sewing room to show the tree and the new ornaments for this year, and then I had fully intended on taking it out of my sewing room because it's kind of large. I loved it so much, I ended up leaving it in my sewing room for the entire season, and it was so fun to have a whole tree just dedicated to handmade ornaments. But also I think it would be really fun to make those ornaments and give them away as gifts as well. So 12 Nutcracker stitchy ornaments, and then my last cross stitch for 2024 was my Christmas spools cross stitch, and that of course matched the Christmas spools quilt pattern. Again, that one was really cute. I think it finished at about 6x9. Don't quote me on that because I don't have the pattern in front of me, but it was not very large. It was really easy if you sat down and did it during Advent to do one little spool per night, or you could even work on it in sections, and then you would have a cute little finished Christmas cross stitch piece for your sewing room. Here's what mine turned out like. I put it on a cutting board and just tied a little ribbon up. I do have a video here on YouTube showing how I finished this, and I know it's Christmassy, but I do actually just keep it right here on my shelf year round because I just think it's so cute. All right, so that's all of the cross stitch that I had for 2024. Let's talk about the knit and crochet, and mostly I think it's all crochet. It is. I think for 2024, I really got back into crochet. I was having so much fun. I love how easy it is and how fast it is. And I just had a lot of fun yarn colors. And so I was really enjoying myself with the crochet. I also went a little crazy with the ornaments. I know you probably saw all of that in the release videos, and there is a video tutorial for everything I'm about to mention here. So let's go ahead and go through them really quickly. So the first thing I released was the Crochet Sunburst Tote plus the zipper tote. The Crochet Sunburst square released on as its own video, and then I also have a full pattern if you would like to make the tote bag. That is to this day probably one of my favorite tote bags of all time, and whenever I bring it, I have a crochet project in it right now. Whenever I bring it to our Knit and Crochet, somebody always asks about it because it's so cute. And because I had a couple of the squares left over from testing, I actually showed here on YouTube how to join those together and put them into a fully lined little zipper pouch for your notions and supplies. So that zipper pouch is actually in that bag as well, and it has all of my crochet hooks, scissors, needles, etc. So that project was a lot of fun, probably one of my favorite ones. The next thing I released was a crochet hook review, which isn't a tutorial, but I did want to include it in case you're interested in crochet because I went through all of the hooks that I personally own and what I think about all of them to help give you guys a little bit of a guidance if you're looking for some new crochet hooks. The next thing I released was the crochet flower tote, and I made this cute little crochet flower actually as like a trivet for one of my candles, and I decided it would be really cute in a bag, and so I turned it into a crochet flower tote. That pattern also shows how to line your tote, and I do have a video here on YouTube on how to line any crochet project with regular like quilting cotton or other fabrics. So that one was really cute. I have a knit project in that one currently. I also did the Crochet Daisy backpack, and again I released the Crochet Daisy squares, its own video, and then I also show you how to put it into a backpack, which is super cute. I made that one for Katie. The colors are adorable, and it's just an adorable little summer backpack, and it's perfect for like a little book bag or even bringing a project to a knit or crochet group. And now let's talk about the ornaments, because I did release a lot of crochet ornaments this year. They were so fun, I just couldn't stop. So I love them all. So the first one I have is the Crochet Sunburst ornament. This was a ball ornament, and we used that sunburst block and turned it into a casing for a glass ball or plastic ball ornament. Those are super fun, and you can make any of these any color that you like and really customize your Christmas tree. So I made mine in pink and white because that was sort of the theme for my tree. The other ones we did were mini stocking ornaments. Those are possibly my favorite ones because they are absolutely adorable. I had 3 different styles that we did. There was a solid one with an accent toe, heel, and cuff, and then there was a striped one as well. All absolutely adorable. To go with that, we released the crochet mitten ornaments, also super cute. I did solid versions for those with an accent cuff, and then I did a striped version as well, which was absolutely adorable. I ended up making a couple for my own tree, and then my daughter loved them, so I made a blue and like a little bit of a darker blue version for her tree. And then of course we had to do the mini crochet hat ornaments, because what would the stockings and mittens be without cute little hats? So we made crochet hats. I have 2 different styles for that. I had a ribbed one and then a regular sort of solid crochet, and then all those were topped with a cute little mini pom, and they just made the most adorable ornaments. And then lastly, we did our crochet star ornaments. I made a ton of those. Those were actually 2 different styles of star ornaments that I released. So there's one that's more of a granny square, and then there's more that's like a solid crochet. Those were so much fun. It was almost like you can't stop making them. So I have them all still hanging actually in my sewing room as a garland. They're going right over these windows that are sitting right here to my right. And you know what? I just left them up there. I made mine in pink, sort of like a amber color and a natural color. So they aren't super Christmassy. They matched my tree, but it was also just really fun to leave them up in my sewing room. So they'll probably just stay going across my windows until, I don't know, when would I take those down? Okay, that was it for my crochet. That was a lot of ornaments released this year. And I think for this 2025, I'm thinking about doing similar ornaments, but I think we're gonna go more on the knit side because we did so much crochet this year. I have a few knit ornaments that are planned that I think will be really fun. And then lastly, I have kind of random videos that didn't fit into any categories, and those were our orange garland. We did that at Christmas. I did dehydrated oranges, and I used those in garland. I put them in a little bowl. They make your house smell amazing, so that was a lot of fun. And then lastly, and I have on my slate to do some more quick quilt tips, but I did release a half square triangle cheat sheet. And the reason that I did that was because whenever I'm doing half square triangles, I'm always wanting a faster and easier way to make more at one time, but I also want my measurements to be accurate. And previously I would just look up online and try and find the size I need. And unfortunately, some of those websites' measurements aren't always accurate, and I learned that the hard way. So I wanted to come up with my own cheat sheet. I reference it all the time, and it has a bunch of different ways to make half square triangles. I think I did 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 4 at a time, 8 at a time. Did I do more than that? There is a bigger one than that, but it gets to be a lot. So I think that's where I stopped, but it has measurements for all different sizes of half square triangles, your starting measurements. I also gave wiggle room measurements, meaning you'll make it a little bit bigger and then trim it down, which is what I personally like to do. So if you missed that video, I show you how to do each one of them, and then it's a free download. And I just have it printed out or saved on my computer so I can just easily grab it when I am working on a project. So the next one I do plan to release this year is a flying geese cheat sheet, because those are the ones that are really kind of sketchy. And more than once I've looked up a 4 at a time flying geese cheat sheet and the measurements are not correct, and I make all 4 of them and then they are not the right size. So that will be one that I am working on releasing this year. And then I have a lot of quick tips that I want to release as well. I already have a little section here on YouTube called Quilting Quick Tips, and it's just things like how to use your 1/4 inch seam tape, how to use your rotary cutter, just really easy, fast videos, and I do have a few of those slated for this year to add to that playlist as well. All right, so I think that's everything that I released in 2024. I also did a few other side projects. I'm gonna save those for my craft podcast, which I am planning on recording soon, and you can see some of the other things that I have been working on as well. But this video gets really long, and so I just wanted to do my releases for 2024. I love looking back and seeing all the projects that I released. It also gives me inspiration and encouragement for going forward, and I would suggest you do that too. It's easy to compare ourselves to other people and maybe think we aren't doing enough or anything, but this whole thing, in my opinion, is that you just enjoy your time, have fun. If you enjoy something, do it. If you don't enjoy something, don't do it. I mean, this is crafting, and it's supposed to be fun and enjoyable and relaxing, and so that's usually what I'm going for. Hopefully you are too. And I encourage you to look back at some of your projects, just take them back out. Maybe they've been shoved in a closet, and just take time to admire all that you've accomplished each year. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this little look back at 2024, and I hope you're looking forward to 2025. Everything that I mentioned here, like I said, is available on YouTube, so you can search the title on my YouTube channel, or you can also, if it's a pattern, go to my store and search the name of that pattern as well. My store will be linked below this video. If you have any suggestions for videos or tutorials that you'd like to see coming up in 2025, please leave those comments below as well. I would love to see what you're interested in seeing, and if it's something that I can do, I will be happy to try and get that on my slate for 2025. That's going to be it for today's video. Thanks so much for joining me. I know it was a long one, but thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. I love seeing people's project recaps, and I know it's a little bit later in below this, you can, and then and holy cow, what did harvest look like? Can you kind of do that quieter somehow? I don't know. Projects and their progress. Gracias. Cinderella. Yes, now you're on YouTube with a plopper. Okay, thank you. Okay. I don't know what I 100% do not know what I was saying. Okay. And oh, I should have lit a candle for this video. Dang it. If you join and don't, if you join and